Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review on Thursday Night Live. I'm joined tonight by Holly Blades, as you can see. Good evening, Holly.
Evening, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. Tonight's just going to be all about everybody firing in their comments again, talking about the Chelsea game, the injuries going on at the moment at the club, and obviously the issue regarding Steve Bruce as he's come out today regarding death threats, which has had a mixed reaction on social media, but we'll come to that shortly. Holly, just to get your impressions of the Southampton game. It was a bit back to the wall stuff in the second half, but how did you think we did?
I thought we did excellent. I said out of all the games we played in lockdown, it was my favourite one just because it was completely different how we normally play, because we normally just, as soon as the opposition score or anything goes wrong, we just give up the fight. But that game we battled till the end, and it was like amazing to see.
Yeah, I think that was one thing I was really happy with, was the way we fought. I've never seen that for a long time from a Newcastle side, where we just backs to the wall and everybody wanted to do well, and grit and tears and blood spilt, just blocking everything and really getting behind each other.
Yeah, I haven't seen that under Bruce. Like, the last time we've seen that was definitely under Rafa Benitez, so it was really refreshing to see that last weekend.
Yeah. Who's your sort of favourite player at the moment? Who do you think is a standout player this season?
This season, I'd probably say it's a hard decision to make out of Miguel Almiron and Isaac Hayden, because I think they've both been fantastic. Yeah,
they have. I've been particularly impressed with Miggy the last few games, but that just coincides in being back in the number 10 role, I think, doesn't it? So it's good to see. And obviously they combined really well in the first half against Southampton. What was your opinion of the sending off with Jeff Hendrick?
I thought it was deserved, because I think every game he always goes in for stupid tackles and stuff like that. And when he pulled on his shirt, I just thought there was no need to do that. Why did he do it? So I thought it was deserved. And to be honest, it's not like we're going to miss him, because I think he's just a horrendous player.
Yeah, that's one thing that's going to come out as a bonus, really, isn't it? The fact that he's suspended against Chelsea. If we move forward to the Chelsea game, obviously there's injuries galore at the moment, and centre backs, defensive problems. And I put on my review today that I think the transfer window's come to bite us in the backside again, because we let Yedlin go. We didn't get any cover at right back, and now we're left with Emil Kraft, which doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. And I think we should have gone for another striker to cover Callum Wilson, because my opinion is that Dwight Gale is a championship striker. I've always believed that. That's nothing against Dwight Gale himself. I just think he's injury prone as well. I would have gone for somebody like Origi on loan for the rest of the season from Liverpool, maybe, just to steady us along, and certainly cover for Wilson, because they're two areas we're going to really miss: Callum Wilson and Javier Manquillo.
Yeah, I would definitely have I know Ashley won't want to be spending money, obviously, because he doesn't actually want to have the club anymore. But I would have liked us to get more loans, because obviously we had free spaces for loans. And then I didn't mind that Yedlin went, because I didn't dislike him, but I didn't think he was great. But I wanted us to bring in another option, because I don't mind Manquillo, but I think Kraft's pretty crap. And then, the striker's a massive problem, because Wilson, he's the one that's stopped us being in the bottom three this season, in my opinion. So now that's a big worry.
Yeah, I certainly don't think Joe Linton's the man to fill his place either. As long as he's away from the starting 11, I'll not be bothered. I've just got this frightening feeling that Steve Bruce is going to put him in. He doesn't seem to have a lot of faith in Dwight Gale or Andy Carroll. Hence, the substitutions over the last few weeks have been very strange. And he just seems to turn to Joe Linton all the time, and that's my biggest worry. But I guess we'll just have to see what he comes out with. What formation would you go for, Chelsea?
I think I would go 4-4-2.
4-4-2, okay.
Yeah.
So who would you play up front as the two forwards?
Dwight Gale. And then I'd probably put St. Maximin further forward.
Right, okay. I know a few people have mentioned actually doing that. Some people have agreed with it, some people haven't. I guess it's, everybody's got a different opinion of who should be playing where. I think St. Maximin can do a job up front. I definitely can. I think certainly for me, I've gone a 4-3-3, but in a different way. I've gone obviously 4 at the back, but I've got Isaac Hayden just playing in front of the back 4, not as a back 5, just as a defensive midfielder, with Shelvey and Willock in front of him, and then Fraser, Almiron, and St. Maximin. Obviously, I know that means we're missing an out-and-out striker, but I do believe that Miggy can play as a false 9, stroke number 10 role. I think he could do a job with that. So it'd be interesting to see with what he goes with, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if we didn't have all the problems in defence, I think he might have went back to a 5 at the back, because I think he would have panicked against Chelsea. So obviously it's bad that we've got all the problems with defence, but in a way it could help us out, because I think it just would have been disaster if we went back to 5 at the back.
Yeah, it's crazy really, isn't it, that he even contemplates going back to 5 at the back, given that we haven't won many games with 5 at the back and we seem to really struggle. Sheffield United as an example, he played 5 at the back there and look how that ended. It just seems a bit weird for me that he even contemplates it, but he talks about Lascelles and Fernandez, in with a shout. So if they're fit, who would you play in central defence out of Fernandez, Lascelles and Clark?
Fernandez. I think he's probably our most reliable centre-back. I think we've got a few good ones, and I do really like Clark as well. But I'm not a fan of Lascelles.
No, I'm not.
Are you not? I know some people are, but it's just I don't rate him as a captain or a defender. Really, I wouldn't put him in the squad.
100% agree. 100% agree with you. I think Lascelles has gone backwards. There was potential there. I do believe that, but I don't trust him carrying the ball out of the 18-yard box. His distribution is poor, and I certainly don't think he's a leader on the pitch. I mean, for me, I've put on all my videos and live shows and things like that. The one captain I believe should be there is Isaac Hayden. I think he leads by example on the pitch and off it. Even when he wanted to leave the club, he didn't complain. He had family reasons why he wanted to go back down south, but he didn't complain. He didn't kick up a fuss. He still put in A-rate performances on the pitch, and that's the kind of leader that you need. For me, I'll go with Fernandez and Clark. I really, there's this thing about Lascelles always in my head that if he's fit, he'll play simply because he's captain. But I guess we'll see. But we'll see what comments have come in. Thomas says, good evening, Paul and Holly. We've got Paul Hennessy on Facebook saying, I'll be happy with a point down there. Yeah, I mean, I've said in my review, I'd be happy to take a point from Stamford Bridge. I think it doesn't matter how badly or well we're playing. I think if you go to somewhere like Stamford Bridge, Holly, and you can come away with something, it's always better.
Definitely. I predicted a 2-2, so that would be great. Not expecting anything, but I did watch Chelsea's last game that they played against Sheffield United, and obviously it's not much to judge by playing Sheffield United, but I didn't think they were particularly amazing, so I do think we'll have a chance to get something.
It seems you thinking along the same lines as me here, because I put in my review that I thought they were terrible against Sheffield United. I didn't think they were very good at all. They scored a very good first goal through Mason Mount when Werner cut the ball back and Mount slotted in the corner, but the own goal was just comical. And that's where I think we can get at Chelsea, because I don't think Rudiger's a very good defender. They've got Christensen and they've got Thiago Silva, but I don't know if Thiago Silva will be fit. I'd prefer it if they go with Christensen and Rudiger, because we can get at Rudiger. Christensen's okay. I think the struggle at right back, because Azpilicueta's lost a lot of pace over the years. He's not the player he was. And left back, they seem to change on a weekly basis. So I think, whoever's in our forward line can really get at the Chelsea back line.
Yeah, their defence looked very shaky, and I didn't even think their keeper looked anything great. The only players that I thought were decent was obviously Mount and Werner. Yeah. But I definitely don't think if they play like that, they won't I can't get my words out. Right. They won't outclass us. So I think we could easily get something if they play like that. But I'm not going to be too confident.
Yeah, I think where we have to be careful of is lapses in concentration, which we've done on numerous times, which has led to opposition scoring goals. And if you look at the previous few games, the opposition goals have always come from silly little mistakes that we've made on the pitch, where we've just switched off for that brief second. And in the Premier League, we just can't do that. You get punished straight away. So for me, the only sort of shining light with Chelsea going forward is they're still not hitting top gear because of the signings they've brought in. If you look at Werner, I watch a lot of the Bundesliga, and he's been very, very, very good in the Bundesliga, scoring goals, taking players on, etc. He's been brilliant. However, he's struggling with the pace and the physicality of the Premier League. The same with Ziyech. I think he's just struggling a little bit as well. And the midfielder, I've forgotten his name, came from Germany as well. But they've all just sort of struggled to get into a sort of routine, and they just look still a bit edgy to me. But again, we make teams look like Barcelona this season, so God knows what's going to happen at Stamford Bridge. Geordie Talk, good evening, Stephen. Hope you're well, mate. Hello, Paul and Holly. Jake's says, evening all, evening to you, mate. Taylor says 3-1 to Newcastle. I've actually predicted a 2-1 win. I may be quite crazy. I know I haven't been smoking or drinking anything funny today. That's what I predicted in my video. I think if we play the proper way and we play with our heads switched on and go out there motivated from the start, I think we can get at Chelsea as long as we don't pay them too much respect, Holly.
I agree. I said 2-2, but I definitely think we could nick a 2-1 or a 1-0 or whatever. But it's just, I think it really depends on what team Bruce puts out and how, like, what their mindset is. Because sometimes they go out and they look up for it, and other times they just look like they can't be bothered.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? When we switch up, I think if Shelvey plays on Saturday, he's got to be on his game from the off, hasn't he? I mean, you know, we see Shelvey coming in and out of games, trying Hollywood passes and things like that. Just stick to your game. I mean, if we do play a 3 with Hayden sitting in the centre-back role, not centre-back, central defender's role, central defender. I'll get my words out in a minute. Defensive midfielding role, I think it'll be an excellent opportunity for him to win the ball, give it to Willock or give it to Shelvey and go on the attack. We know Willock will go box to box like he did on Saturday. I was really pleased to see that because we haven't had a player like that for a long time. And it just gives us, if we go with the 3 up front, like I said before, then Willock can be added to that when we're on the attack and he's got the engine to get back. So I think I'd take, to be honest, a point or 3 I'd take now, either one. You know, so just to get something from Stamford Bridge would be fantastic, really. Paul says Jeff plays better on the wing. I think Jeff's best position is in the dressing room, Paul, to be honest. I think a lot of Newcastle fans would agree with me and Holly on that one, that I just think he doesn't deserve a start at all on the pitch. He let us down badly on Saturday. You know, this is the thing, Holly, in the Premier League, when you've got all those cameras on you constantly through the 90 minutes, a slight shirt pull like that, you're going to get booked. And when you know he's on a yellow card, it was a stupid thing to do.
Yeah, he's always a liability for us on the pitch, though. He's always the one, like, making silly tackles and just doing daft things that he doesn't need to do. You could understand if it was a goal-scoring opportunity for whoever we're playing, but most of the time, it's, like, in the middle of the pitch or, like, in their half, so I just don't know why he bothers. Like, just leave it be.
I mean, there was another Newcastle defender there, wasn't there? Willock was there because Willock actually originally got booked for it until the Southampton players pointed out that it was Hendrick because they knew he was in for a sending off. So there was no need to do it. We had players back, which is just the annoying thing. And then when he walks off the pitch, he's like looking at the referee like a big baby, saying, you know, what did I do? What did I do? Just makes a fool of himself. Taylor says, play Matty. I want to get your opinion on this, Holly, because I think Steve Bruce has had a falling out with the Longstaffs somewhere along the way. There's been rumours that, Sean and Matty's dad, David, who I know very well, has had a go at Steve Bruce. Obviously, we know that Matty was involved in a lot of contract talks in the summer and you didn't know which way it was going. He decided to stay, and Sean's lost a lot of form without a shadow of a doubt. But for me, he doesn't have any faith in the Longstaffs. He plays Matty a couple of games and then he's out for the next 10. You know, what do you think's going on?
Something definitely doesn't seem right. I think maybe they have had a falling out or whatever, because, like, our midfield is probably where we're the poorest, in my opinion. And when you choose to play the likes of Jeff Hendrick over the Longstaffs, it just shows how little trust he has in them. And, like, when we went on that long, like, run of like losing games and we didn't get any wins, he should have given them a go. And Matty, you can see, has loads and loads of potential, but then how can you expect him to improve if he doesn't get a run out in the squad? And, like, I can kind of understand to a degree why he's not playing Sean, because when he has played, he hasn't looked very good. But, like, I think it is a lot down to the coaching, because when he broke into the squad in Rafa's last season, 18-19 season, they looked like there was a lot of potential in him and a really good player inside, and then he just seems to have totally regressed. And I don't know if that's to do with that injury, because I know in Rafa's last season he had that big injury.
Yeah, he did,
Yeah, but it's just, it's sad to see, but I can't see either of them staying, to be honest, because they're not getting treat well off the club whatsoever. And why would they stay here at a young age just to sit on the bench than want to play football at that age, especially?
Yeah, I thought Sean might have actually gone out on loan, to be honest. I thought it was a perfect opportunity for Sean to go out on loan, and really buckle down, get back in the first team somewhere and get a run of good games and get his form back. You know, I mean, let's face it, Manchester United were willing to spend millions on him before the injury. And then obviously the injury cut that short and sort of all the transfer links disappeared and he ended up staying. But there is a player in there, I believe, with Sean. He's a very, very good player. And as with Matty, but I just think something's gone on behind the background. You know, why would you not, like you say, why would you put Hendrick, who was a liability and a really terrible footballer, in my opinion, in front of them? It just beggars belief. But that's Steve Bruce all over. Is it the coaching? Is Steve Bruce just inept that he doesn't know where his best players are? It's bizarre. Jake says, hopefully whoever replaces Hendrick will stake a claim in his place. We can only hope so. But if he goes 3 in the midfield on Monday night, then, you know, if he goes with if he goes with Hayden and he goes with Shelvey and Willock, those 3 could make the positions their own, Holly.
Yeah, that's who I would say is our best 3 midfielders if we were playing with the 3. And then if probably the only thing I would do is, but it won't happen because obviously it's Bruce, I would maybe say put Matty Longstaff in instead of Shelvey, because I don't think Shelvey is good enough to play every game. I think he's a good person to have in the squad and on the bench, but I just don't think he should be a regular starter.
Yeah, he's certainly not a captain in my eyes. He doesn't lead by example on the pitch, for one. It's a good shout, though, to play maybe Matty instead of Shelvey on Saturday. You know, play 2 holding midfielders in Hayden and Matty and let Joe Willock do the donkey work going between, you know, box to box, because he's definitely got the energy to do that. There's no reason why maybe we couldn't have the extra defensive midfielder in there and then Willock can link up with the forward 3. But it's going to be very interesting because, like I say, if he's even thinking one little thought about going 5 at the back, I think there'll be hell on. Absolute hell on, to be honest. Paul says Lazar's gone to Watford. Yes, he has. That was rumoured on Monday, but it's been completed. So good luck to him. He hasn't had a lot of football apart from in the under-23s, and I think he's got a lot to prove to everyone at Newcastle who's haven't given him the chance. I mean, we never got to see what kind of player he was. He never got a run in the side, to be fair. But good luck to him. Don't know how to spell his name. That's all right. I knew who you meant, Paul. Don't worry. Jay says, let's just have a go. Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. There's nothing to lose. You know, we're going down to Chelsea when we really don't have anything to lose. Which, you know, we've got to be careful of the teams behind us, though, Holly. I don't know what you think. I think that the bottom 3 that are there at the minute may well be the bottom 3 that actually go down, because they've got to do a lot of work to get back into the reckoning, and they've got to count on the teams above them to lose pretty much the rest of the games. They're going to find it a hard struggle, aren't they?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that will be the 3 that goes down. I think the 2 far gone now, and I think we should just be safe. But it does help that the fact that the bottom teams are so poor, because if they were doing okay, I think then we could well have been one of those bottom 3.
Yeah, good point. If you're enjoying the show, guys, do hit the subscription button. Very, very close to getting the big 1,000. So do share the channel out with everybody, with all your mates and everything, and hopefully they'll get subscribed and I can get over this 1,000 mark. It's slowed down a little bit the last couple of weeks. I'm inching there slowly. So do hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and also do follow Holly on Twitter. She's at HollyBlades05. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
Good, right. HollyBlades05 on Twitter. So help her build her following on there. Very, very good knowledge of Newcastle United, as you can already tell, and a big football fan, which is what it's all about. Good evening, David. He says, I would play ASM up front. Holly, you said that before. I do believe he can play there. There's no doubt about it. I believe he's quite capable of playing as a striker. There's just one thing about ASM that I think a lot of fans have noticed is sometimes he's a bit eccentric with his finishing, his final ball. You know, it just needs to be slightly worked on. I mean, he's a wonderful, wonderful player, don't get me wrong. But if he could just improve that side of it, I think we would have an absolute star player, if he's not that already.
Yeah, like sometimes he tries to just show off a bit too much instead of just doing a basic pass or whatever that he needs to do, and he probably would have completed it successfully if he'd done it like that, instead of trying to show skill and stuff, which sometimes is great, but sometimes he just needs to learn to not try to show off and just do a simple pass.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. Taylor says 4-3-3. He'd go with Dubravka, Kraft, Clark, Fed, Lewis, Willock, Matty, Hayden, Fraser, Miggy, Maxi. Pretty much what I'd go for. Exactly. Well, I've said about Dubravka, I want him to see him back in the team, Holly. I think, the time has come now. Darlow has done all right this season. Don't get us wrong, he's been fantastic. He's got us a lot of points. But I don't know whether you've noticed the last few games, just when he comes to crosses, he doesn't seem to catch anything. He's always punching and flapping at things. And I think with Dubravka, the defence seems more settled. They know what to get from him, and he's a lot more vocal. And this time of the season where it's coming to the crunch of the back end of the season, we need our best players on the pitch.
Yeah, I would have brought Dubravka in a while ago, and I do think Darlow's done well, obviously, and he's a great number 2 to have, but Dubravka should definitely be starting for me. And like you said about him shouting out and stuff, that's the thing I think we miss the most, is command and presence on the pitch, because we lack that, and you could always see him organising the defence, whereas Darlow seems to be a bit more quiet, so it'd be really nice to have that back.
Yeah, definitely. Good evening, Sharky at Toonami TV. He says, evening, Paul and Holly. Do go and follow Sharky at Toonami TV. Brilliant channel. Does lots of vlogs, previews, reviews, live streams on a Friday night between 7 and 9. He gets everybody on as guests, and you can have a chat with him about all things football and Newcastle United. So please do go and subscribe to Toonami TV, and don't forget to join his live stream between 7 and 9 tomorrow night. Jake says, harder for players coming from La Liga and Bundesliga, where maybe 3 to 5 max truly good teams. It's true. I mean, that's the risk you take. We've seen it with the French players. Some French players, fit in straight away. Some don't. And then they leave the club and go on to have fantastic careers elsewhere. You look at the likes of Remy Cabella, for instance. He's gone on to have a decent career in France when he failed over here. There is players there, but you've just got to be very careful, I think. PD Proudlock, good evening to you. He's one of my 4 horsemen of the Toon show. Please go and follow PD Proudlock on Twitter, and also follow his YouTube account. Brilliant channel again. Does some fantastic reviews and previews and play ratings and things like that. And also has, sometimes he loses his temper. Maybe not as much as me, but he does. And he wonders where Joe Linton could be this time. It's funny, Holly, because I don't know whether you know what happened with, you've been on John Sinclair's channel before. And he's one of the 4 horsemen on my Monday night show. And he came out with somebody asked him how much they think Joe Linton is worth now. And John came out and said that he thought he was still worth 15 million quid. He took a lot of hammer, shall we say, for that. And people now think that John is either Joe Linton's agent or somewhere romantically involved with him. On Monday night show, people were suggesting, that he was going to start an ASMR channel on YouTube with Joe Linton, that he was going to be a massage therapist with Joe Linton, all sorts of brilliant stuff. And I watched his Q&A session last night on YouTube, and loads of people were popping up with questions saying, when are you writing a book about Joe Linton? Have you been to Blythe Butchers with Joe Linton? Loads of stuff. So he's never, ever going to regret the comment, because even when he doesn't come on this show, he's getting hammer on it on his own show. So he'll never forget it. But bless him, he's a good bloke, is John. So, he takes it all in good spirits. Good evening, Paul and Holly. Hope you're good. Thanks, Daniel, mate. Hope you're well. Sharky says, anyone got Jeff Hendrick's receipt? Yeah, that's a good point, Holly. Try and send him back to wherever he came from. What I struggle to understand is that he was actually linked with AC Milan. I mean, they're one of the giants in Italy. And I just can't see what the hell they would find appealing about Jeff Hendrick.
No, certainly not. Like, even for a club that's in the bottom half of the Prem, even the Championship, I think he'd still be rubbish. So I can't see why AC Milan would want him. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Crazy, isn't it? Do you know what I think that generally is? I think that is genuinely just to say, there's other teams involved, there's other clubs involved here to get him, and just so Newcastle would sign him quickly, which is crazy, really, but that's the way it is. Stephen says, would you keep Darlow or bring Dubravka back in for Monday night?
I said bring Dubravka back. Yeah,
definitely. I would do exactly the same. Let's have a look. Ryan, good evening to you over in Canada, mate. Hope you're well. I just wish Manquillo was fit. I can't stand Kraft. I don't think anybody can, Holly. I don't think it inspires anybody with any confidence at the minute.
No, he's definitely the worst right back, and keeping him over Yedlin's just a bit mad, really. He doesn't offer anything. I don't even know why we signed him, because at the time, obviously, we had Mankio and Yedlin that was fit, I believe, so why would we sign him? And I know he's only 5 million or whatever, but he's not even worth that. Like, he adds nothing to the squad.
Yeah, I completely agree. Jake says, Tsunami TV, Ashley left it in his jeans and put them in the wash along with Joe Linton's. Yeah, there you go. Nat, good evening to you. At the moment, Barnsley are doing well versus Chelsea 0-0, but Barnsley had a great chance for a goal. That would be interesting to see if Barnsley could turn them over, I tell you. There'd be absolute ructions on if Chelsea went out of the FA Cup. And speaking of Mr. Sinclair, good evening to you, my friend. I hope you're well. Here, Paul and Holly, great show. Just done a live chat with a Chelsea fan. Yeah, I watched a bit of that, John. Fantastic show too. Gutted about Sharman, Keogh and Wilson being out injured. Fantastic show, my guys. Yeah, I mean, it is. We're going to miss them, aren't we?
Yeah, like Shaw, I think he's really starting to come back into form, because I know he's been struggling, and he was excellent the first season we got him, and he was starting to return to that. I thought he was looking really, really promising. So It's such a blow to lose him. And then I hope that doesn't prevent the club from giving him a new contract in the summer, because I'd really like to see him stay.
Definitely. David said I would definitely play SM up front. Yeah, but will Steve Bruce? Paul, good evening to you, mate. Ethan says my front three would be Joe Linton, ASM and Miggy, and then play Fraser, ASM and Miggy for the Man United match. That's interesting. So he would start with Joe Linton.
No, if we were playing three up top, I would go Gale as obviously the number 9, and then St. Maximin and Almiron. I wouldn't put Joe Linton in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I think he's too much of a risk. But here, Paul says Chelsea 1, Newcastle 2. That's what I've gone for, Paul. I do believe we can get a result without a shadow of a doubt. Paul Hennessy says, I'd love another Cisse night down there. Yeah. Do you remember that, Holly, when Cisse scored those 2 goals down there?
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. Was it 2013 kind of time? Yeah, quite a while ago. But yeah, I definitely remember. I would love to see that again, but can't see it. I don't think we'll have a player as good as Cisse in the squad at the moment.
No, I mean, that second goal was just unbelievable. I don't think we'll see a goal like that for a while. Jake says ASM has the ability to play up front, but you would lose somewhere else on the pitch. Exactly, yeah. I mean, that's the problem. If we play SM up front, we lose that left-handed side pace, I guess. And I don't really think there's anyone else. There's Matt Ritchie who could come in on the left-hand side, but I don't know. It's a bit risky for me. Paul says, what do you think about the so-called death threats against Bruce? We're going to come on to that shortly, Paul. I think it's very, very interesting. I don't know what happened there. I pressed mute on my microphone, I think. We'll come on to that because I'm not sure what to make of it, to be honest, but we'll see. Paul says, personally, I think it's an excuse to quit. It may well be. Only time will tell. David says, John would love to see Joe Linton up top. Yes, John would love to see Joe Linton anywhere on the pitch, to be honest, David. Ethan says to put Dubravka back in goal would be criminal. Darlow should play the season out, and then new management and new owners come in, and I'm sure that will change, and Dubravka goes back as number 1. Yes, but is Dubravka going to hang around without any promises that he's going to be number 1, and is he going to be happy sitting out the rest of the season? I'm not so sure.
That's what would worry me, because if we didn't play him for the rest of the season, I think if someone came in from in the summer, which I'm sure they would, I think he'd go, because he's like getting on now and he'll want to just play as much football as he can before he retires, because it's a short career and he'll want to go out with a bang, like you say. He won't want to just be sitting on the bench. He's too good to sit on the bench. We're really lucky to have him, so we can't risk losing him.
I agree. I agree. Andrew, evening, Paul and Holly. Good evening to you, Andrew. Jay says Darlow done nothing wrong. Really, have 2 decent keepers. No, and you're right. I'm not sitting here saying Darlow's done anything wrong. I think he's been fantastic this season. Like I've said, I think he's won us a lot of points. The only thing that worries me at the minute is coming for crosses. He's flapping at things, and there's a few things going a bit wrong. And he's not. With Dubravka, you get that safety, you get that vocality at the back, if you like, screaming at the defenders, and so they know where they are. I don't think Darlow does that right now, but It's everyone's opinion. Jake says trouble with two goalkeepers is one of them will go elsewhere to be number one eventually. That's what my worry is, Holly. That if they leave Dubravka out for the rest of the season, is he just going to turn around and say sod it and just go elsewhere for to be promised number one?
That's what would worry me, because he deserves to be number one. Like, he's absolutely excellent. And then obviously I'd be sad if the same happened to Darlow when he left, because he's excellent to have as a number two. But I'd much rather lose Darlow than Dubravka.
Yeah, undoubtedly. I think Darlow would probably look to move, if I'm honest, if Dubravka gets number one again. And let's face it, Darlow's good enough to be a number one somewhere, given the performances he's done this season. So, good luck to them. But Ethan says, very harsh to judge Joe Linton when he's been playing the majority of games up top, isolated on his own. Very harsh. Wilson struggled when we've played 5-4-1. Imagine coming from abroad and playing like one. You know what, Ethan? Fair enough, mate. Over the first season, yes, he was isolated up front. He's had opportunities in other positions now. That's my point. And he hasn't done anything in them other positions either. He doesn't look confident on the ball. To me, the guy can't trap a bag of sand. He's just not good enough, Holly. And for me, his work rate's not good enough either sometimes. If we look at the way he tried to do things with 9 men, yes, he did all right getting back, but there was a couple of times he tried to dribble out of the edge of the box and lost the ball and put us under pressure again. I think he's had his chance now. I don't think he's good enough.
Yeah, he panics on the ball, I think. Like, as soon as he gets the ball, it's kind of like he doesn't know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And then, sorry. And then I think he's all right holding the ball up. He's okay in the air, but he's slow, and he's not a good team player, I don't think. And for me, he's just not good enough in any positions that we've seen him play. To be honest, I said before, I think he looks like a defender to me. Because the best thing he's done is clearing a few chances, so stick him at centre-back. Why not?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, actually, because Sharky said that on Monday Night Show, that he thought it wouldn't be a bad shout to put him as a central defender because he just doesn't have any pace, but maybe he's decent in the air. Jay and Sharky both laughing at links to Hendrick and AC Milan there. Frank Kessie, good player at AC Milan. He is. But good players won't come to Newcastle at the minute until something's sorted out with the takeover. I truly believe that. Ken on Facebook. Good evening, Ken. Hi, Paul. We got Cal the Welsh Dragon looking in again. Did he say he was hooked? Yeah, he made a few comments, Ken. It's nice to have you both on. Thank you very much for that. Ethan again says, let's be real. Joe Linton offers more than Gale. Height advantage, stronger, can play in plenty of positions if needed. Against Chelsea, we won't have much of the ball. So Joe Linton is a better shout. Ethan, I completely disagree with you 100%. But again, it's your opinion, which you are totally entitled to. Everyone has different opinions on players. If you still think Joe Linton has something to offer, then that's fair enough. I completely disagree. Holly, what do you think about that?
I disagree because, yeah, Joe Linton might be able to play in more positions and stuff like that, but he never does a good job, really. And then we're looking for a striker to replace Wilson, and Gale's the best we've got for me.
Yeah, definitely. I just need to knock my camera over there. I don't know. There's just something not right about Joe Linton. There really isn't. And whoever did that deal has made an absolute fortune of money. Sharky says, I can see Darlow being replaced on Sunday. I would prefer Dubravka. Bruce is stubborn. He won't change. That's half the trouble, though, Holly, isn't it? That we've got a manager who is very stubborn, very inept, and tries to stick to his dinosaur's ways, which clearly just are not working.
I know, it's like he always says, I'll never change the winning team and stuff like that. And I know, because obviously the players, if they've put in a good shift, don't deserve to be dropped. But some players just don't suit certain teams and the way we're playing at that time. Because for me, you need to put a different, completely different type of team out against Man City as you would obviously Sheffield United. So you can't just keep the same players just because they did well in one game. You need to change stuff up, and you need to just change things instead of constantly sticking with the same stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. Taylor said we could play Maxi up front and Atsu on the left. I think Atsu's time at the club is done, to be honest, Taylor. I don't think he'll be in the first 11 for the foreseeable future. But again, it'd be interesting. MD, good evening, says Dubravka needs to start. If he doesn't start, then he will leave. Yeah, we've just said that. It's a bit of a risk. Pissing off our number one goalkeeper isn't exactly what we want to do. David says John must have went fishing with Joe Linton and had that cooked chicken. Yeah, definitely. Sharky says I can't see Bruce replacing Carl Darlow. Well, that's coming twice. Strange. Jay says I like Dubravka. Yeah, everybody does. I think everybody knows how much safer we feel when Dubravka's in goal. We don't seem to have anything to worry about coming for crosses, distribution, saves. He's the all-round package, isn't he, Holly?
Yeah, the only thing I'd say Darlow is stronger at than Dubravka is kicking for me, because sometimes Dubravka kicks the ball and sometimes it literally goes off the pitch, and I just don't think he's the best at kicking sometimes.
Right.
Darlow's better at that. But
Okay.
in terms of actually catching the ball, I would definitely say Dubravka's way better.
Yeah. Ethan, Dubravka won't leave, and if Rafa comes back in, Dubravka come back in as number one. I think Darlow will most likely leave to go play number one elsewhere. Yeah, I think he will as well. I think once Dubravka's back in as number one, I can basically see Darlow, as I say, leaving to go and get first team football somewhere else, which is fair enough. It's fair enough for me. Jake says Joe Linton offers more than Gale on paper, but reality shows that he's had enough game time to show what he can do. Gale is a championship level striker, but he'd have more goals given the same amount of time. It's a close one for me. I've always said that Dwight Gale is a championship player, and no disrespect to him. Joe Linton, I don't think is even a championship player. I think that just the whole English game is too much for him, and maybe he needs to be in a slower league like the French league or somewhere where you've got a bit more time on the ball, Holly.
Well, when we played the likes of Rochdale in the Cup, he looked okay. So maybe you could get away with League One, but not any higher than that in this country. So, yeah, it'd probably be best to go, obviously, to the Bundesliga where he did play, or to another league that would suit him more, because it's not good for him here.
Definitely. Jay says, is Ethan a Mackham? Well, like I say, guys, it's everybody's got their own opinions on stuff like that. So, if Ethan wants to praise Joe Linton, and if Ethan still thinks there's a player in there, then that's fair enough. Everybody has an opinion, and not everybody agrees. Nobody has to be nasty about it or anything like that. I know you're only having a bit of banter there, Jay. I don't mean by that. What I mean is, the stuff that's going on social media when you've got an opinion, and people just go off on one at you for having an opinion, which is crazy. Ethan says, I'd much rather play Joe Linton, who has a future at the club, rather than someone like Gale that will be out of the door in the summer. May as well give him a chance to impress again. Does Joe Linton have a future at the club, Holly?
Not for me. Especially if we've got a takeover, I think he'd be the first to go. I
just don't see how his future would be at Newcastle. I really don't. Sharky says, I wouldn't go 4-3-3 against Chelsea. We can't afford to be too open. I would play it safe by 4-2-3-1. That's my favourite formation. I've always said that the 4-2-3-1 is my favourite formation. I think that gets the best out of the players that we have. But we have to remember who our manager is. And I know, Sharky, you've said that a few times. You have to remember that we have Steve Bruce as manager. If something is working, i.e. the 4-3-3 formation is working for Steve Bruce, he ain't going to change it, Holly, is he?
No, like we've said, he's just, if something works, that's what he sticks with. And even when it stops working, he still tries to stick with it for a while longer. It's madness.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Jay says, how Ethan wake up? Obviously, Jay doesn't agree with Ethan's comments. Paul Jackson is laughing at Ethan. Hey, the guy's entitled to his opinion, lads. It's just, whatever he thinks. If Joe Linton still do a job for him, personally, I think Joe Linton would be better doing a job far, far away from the British Isles, but that's just my opinion. Ethan says, been a season ticket holder since Pardew took on the club. Let's not get into an argument here, guys. Let's just, have your opinions. We'll talk about them and move on. Sharky says, I'm more for a 1-1 draw away at Chelsea. Holly, you went for a 2-2. I think, we've said if we can get something from this game, whether it be a point or 3 points, it's going to be a massive bonus.
Definitely. As long as we don't get none, because I think we're good enough to get something.
Do you think, Chelsea fans will be looking at this game? Do you think they'll view it as an opportunity to score, plenty goals and maybe get 3 points, because they haven't seen the Newcastle that we have the last few games?
I definitely think they will. I think they'll be thinking it's an easy 3 points for them, but then hopefully we'll give them a surprise and end up scoring a few goals against them instead.
Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it? Tom, good evening to you, my friend. Joe Linton would do well in non-league, that's it. Or maybe not. I think he'd do fine in non-league, to be honest. I think he'd be a good player in non-league. He proved that, really. You know, the lower leagues, that cracking goal he scored against Morecambe, for instance, you know, seems to be his level. But hey-ho. Carl, good evening to you. Good evening, both. Yes, I am new to the show, as Kenny mentioned earlier. Fantastic show. Must be a brilliant show. It's keeping me off Tinder. Well, I'm pleased for that, Cal. Obviously, you know, I think all the Newcastle channels are really trying to do as much as they can, especially during lockdown, to keep everybody occupied and give everybody a good laugh, and that's what it's all about. I love what I do on here, so the more people I can get watching, the better. So if anybody is new to the channel, please do hit the subscription button, hit the like button, and also you can follow me at the Toon Review on Twitter, and Holly is at HollyBlades05 on Twitter as well. So give her a follow and get her followers boosted up as well. Ethan says, being a sick into it. Yes, we know. Thank you very much, Ethan. If Rafa comes back while Ashley is in charge, he needs his head checking. Rafa won't come back. No.
Yeah, wouldn't happen.
No, there's no chance. You know, Rafa doesn't trust Mike Ashley for a start. And, you know, Mike Ashley could promise him the world, money, etc., and he still wouldn't come. That's an absolute certainty. Ken says, to me, I see absolutely nothing in Joe Linton, and God, I've seen some bad ones since the 60s. Can't think of any position I could see for him. I think only John knows his best £15 million position. Yeah. He has had opportunities in every single position, hasn't he? And he just hasn't succeeded in any of them. And he just doesn't look a threat, Holly.
He's not. Like, I think, especially when he has the ball and he's like near the box and going to take a shot, I don't think that would worry any team, because 9 times out of 10 he won't even get it on target. He'll shoot it over the bar or wide or anything but actually on the goal.
Yeah, definitely. Sharky says Joe Linton needs to go and run to a championship club next season. John Sinclair, whoever sanctioned that Joe Linton deal should be sacked for fraud and deception, because the deal was shocking. But then again, I'm trying not to mention this guy. Sorry, not good enough. I'm with you both. Yeah, we know your true opinions on Joe Linton, John. He's abysmal. I'm sorry, Ethan. I know you're going to be a bit disappointed by me saying that, but I've got to be honest. The guy is abysmal. I'm going to rattle through a few more comments just before we move on to the Steve Bruce situation. Joe Linton's too expensive to send down a tier. His price tag doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. He's not good enough. And regardless of the fact that we paid 40 million quid for him is irrelevant now. We need to do something else with him. Ethan says Joe Linton has a contract. Gale doesn't. It's clear that Gale will be leaving. I'd much rather play Joe Linton. If he starts playing all right, then his value will go up. That's my logic in that situation. Fair enough. I mean, I do just think that Joe Linton, he's had his opportunity and he's had runs of games and he still hasn't performed, Holly.
Yeah, and I think now we've just got to accept the fact that that money's kind of wasted and cut our losses and move on, because not only is it not fair on the club, it's also not fair on him. So he needs to go somewhere where he's actually going to play well and do the best that he can, because he's not getting that here.
Yeah, definitely. Josh says 2-2. Jake says a 4-2-3-1 and the Bruce is a 6-3-1 in reality. Well, can't really argue with that. Chelsea's attack will have us on toast if Bruce goes 4-3-3. We will need to do everything in Stamford Bridge, attack and defend, which we said earlier, we've got to be switched on from the off. David says 2-1 win a must. Ethan says, what's your thoughts on the takeover situation? Are you confident or not really? To be honest, I mean, I've said numerous times, I think that the less we hear about the takeover, the better. Let it get done in the background, let something happen, and then when it's all done and dusted, announce it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think hopefully something will happen in the summer, but I'm about 60-40 in favour of it. If it didn't go through, it wouldn't surprise us, but I hope that it will, and I think it might.
Yeah, I'm still confident something's getting done in the background, but, you know, like I say, I'm not building my hopes up or anything like that. I'm just hopeful that maybe something will be agreed and it'll all come out eventually. Andrew says, I don't even think Timbuktu FC would take Joe Linton. Chelsea is struggling against Barnsley at the moment, so plenty of encouragement. Then again, Werner is not playing tonight. Chelsea are hit and miss. I really do think they're hit and miss. I don't think they're all that this season. They're in a transition. Obviously, Tuchel's come in now and they've changed the manager again and having to get used to the way he wants them to play. We could be playing them at the right time. Taylor says, Ethan, let's be honest, Joe Linton has scored 2 goals in a Premiership season and 2 in a single game against Morecambe. He is League One at best. I have to agree, and I'm not going after Joe Linton or anything like that. I just think that's his level. Jake said, what's your current take on the Jones-Bruce relationship after Southampton? I don't know. I don't believe for 1 second, I don't believe Steve Bruce that Jones was his acquisition, Holly.
I don't either. And I don't think he particularly likes him because they never seem to look like they're getting along. Bruce always seems to be quite annoyed at him. And I think he's kind of showing Bruce up because he's basically walked into the job while he's still there and taken over his responsibilities. And Bruce is kind of surplus to requirements now. And even the players are going to Jones and just kind of disregarding Bruce. So I don't think it's going to end well. I think they'll end up having an argument or something will go wrong. But it certainly wasn't his idea to bring him in.
Yeah, totally agree. You're right what you see. You never see them talking on the touchline together, do you? It's very strange. It's as if they just stay social distancing apart. It's bizarre. Tom says NUFC is safe but can't take the foot off the gas. As they say, a few more wins will do it. But if Fulham don't win, hopefully takeover, something happens soon, as it's all boring now. Yeah, it is. And that's why I don't want to hear anything about it. I really don't. I want Amanda Staveley on the pitch, waving a black and white scarf or whatever above her head, saying it's all done and dusted, and that's it. That'll make me happy. Andrew says, great show the other night. Thank you very much, Andrew. Hope you're enjoying this one as well. Josh says, love the live stream. Why is Bruce getting death threats? Surely it's the start of a turnaround for him. We may as well move on to the Steve Bruce situation, Holly. I mean, he came out in his press conference today and said that he's getting death threats. I'm not so sure. I don't know who to believe. It was only last week he came out and said he was getting fan mail. The guy just confuses me. He said on social media he's getting death threats. He's not on social media, so it must be coming from his son, who has pretty much blocked every Newcastle United supporter in the country. So I'm a little surprised. What did you make of the comments from Steve Bruce today?
It's hard to know what is the truth because it seems a bit bizarre that like a couple of weeks ago he was saying that he was getting loads of fan mail and he couldn't get through it all and stuff like this. And then now he's saying that he's getting death threats. Obviously, if he is getting death threats, that's totally unacceptable. That's just like ridiculous and that shouldn't be a thing. But I do have a reason to believe he could be telling the truth because I have seen things, not actual death threats, but I've seen things on Twitter, people saying that they hope he gets COVID and dies and stuff like that. And I have seen, not many, but a couple of people saying things like that, which is just totally wrong. And you should have your account deleted, in my opinion. That's just not right.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, if that is the case, and I've said, I tweeted out what he'd said in the press conference. I don't know whether to believe him or not, with him not having a social media account, etc. However, you've got the other side of it. If he is getting death threats, then those people are not Newcastle United fans. They're a disgrace, and they should be dealt with by the authorities. The police should be involved, and I also think Twitter should do a lot more with people like that. Again, you're looking at Twitter thinking, right, people are getting death threats, people are getting racial abuse. Go out and do something about it. You actually have the capabilities to find these people or whatever. You can track them down. Go out and do it. But I cannot understand anybody sending death threats. It's the same as a referee. Mike Dean was getting them as well, wasn't he? And he's an abysmal referee. I know that, and that's the footballing side of it. But nobody deserves death threats.
No, and I love football, you love football, and probably everyone watching this show does, but it's too far. Like, it's not that important that someone deserves to obviously get death threats and hate over it. Like, you just need to calm down. At the end of the day, it is just literally a sport and something that everyone's passionate about and enjoys, but there's no reason to threaten people at all.
Yeah, totally agree. PD Prowlock says, I've seen paper being ripped up more entertaining than watching Joe Linton. Yeah, you would know all about that, Pete, because you do a lot of that on your videos with your tactics sheets, etc. Andrew says, Tom Hardman working in a shop. Crazy. Ethan says, who do you reckon is going down? Will it change? We've discussed that, Ethan. We do think that the 3 to the day now are the 3 that will go down. I'm under no illusion that they've got an absolutely massively difficult job to get out of the situation they're in. So it'll be very interesting. Jake says that's a fair point, but I can't see his value going up all the way things are going. Might have to just take a loss. We will have to take a loss. There's no way we'll get that money back for Joe Linton, Holly.
No, we won't even get like quarter of it. We'll get nothing. I think the most we'd get is about 5 million. Even that's generous.
Andy says there, Chelsea 3, 2-0, Abraham 1 and Joe Linton 2 on goals. He's not popular, is he? Bless him. Sharky, I think Joe Linton could cut it in the Championship. That's my opinion. Yeah, he may well be able to. I certainly think, possibly Championship might be a bit too tough for him, too physical. But, only time will tell and see where he ends up playing. I think he'll be off to somewhere in Europe again myself. Taylor says Sharky should get on the call. Tom says Barnsley 0, Chelsea 0, still 0-0. So Jay says Bruce and Jones never have eye contact. That's just what you said there, Holly. They never seem to communicate, or they never seem to be communicating on the sidelines.
No, it's literally like Jones has just come in and took Bruce's job, and he's just still stood there, and he doesn't need to be there. It's bizarre. It's like he's not the manager anymore, but he's just still kind of hanging around. I don't understand what's going on. It's
pretty strange, isn't it? Andrew says, I hope Kurt Zuma is playing next week and Carroll can get right into him. I think Zuma's quite far down the pecking order under Tuchel. I don't think he's figured much in Tuchel's early games. But again, they've got the squad depth at Chelsea. That's something that they have. Truls, good evening, mate. Hope you're well. Andrew says, Truls, the voice of reason. Yes, he is. Definitely. Ethan says, the death threats are real. Was posted on the NUFC Twitter from fans. Well, if that's the case, it's shocking. What I would like to see the club do is actually come out and say something, Holly, to say that, this is disgraceful or whatever it is. You're no fans of Newcastle United, and they will be trying to track these people down.
Yeah, they should do. If they're able to find out who the people are, I don't think they should be allowed in the stadium anymore, or certainly for a couple of seasons or something, because there's just no room for that and they shouldn't have any tolerance for it.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a criminal offence, isn't it, to send death threats? So definitely agree with that. Jake says a death threat on Twitter is like saying hello. Yeah, it's getting so bad now that these social media companies have simply got to step up and do something before it gets completely out of hand. Opinions on the Mike Dean situation. We mentioned it before there, Taylor. It's shocking. We know Mike Dean is not a good referee. We know he's made mistakes. The Souček sending off at Fulham was an absolute farce, in my opinion. It should never have been a sending off. He went over to the screen and viewed it numerous times and still sent him off, and it was still overturned. Some of these referees just, need to start picking up a bit of common sense, Holly. But again, death threats is just a joke. It's shocking.
Yeah, and I don't like Mike Dean as a referee. I don't think he's very good. I'm sure most people think the same. But no matter how bad someone's played or how bad someone's refereed or managed or whatever, you just shouldn't threaten them, because mental health and people's lives are a lot more important than football. Yeah,
definitely. Jay says, Muppets if it's happening with death threats. Totally agree with you, mate. That's what they are. Absolute Muppets. Tom says, someone said a few months ago Twitter and Facebook will be no more if it carries on. I don't think they'll ever close them down, Tom, simply because of the money it generates for various companies. They do charitable work as well. We have to remember that these social media companies do donate to charities as well. So they won't shut them down, but they do need to change their policies, whether it be, some people need to have some identification, prove who they are. I don't know how they'll work it, but you know what I mean, where they can be traced, Holly, where they can be found out straight away and arrested.
That's what I think would be a good idea, because anyone can set up a profile with a fake email and fake picture, fake name, so you'll never know who it is. But if you've got to prove who you are to make the account, then this won't be a problem anymore, because people won't want to take the risk of the police coming to their house.
Yeah, definitely. Sharky says the death threats are disgusting. It's a game of football. Yeah, it's like what you said before, Holly. At the end of the day, it's a sport. It's a game that we all love to watch. There's no reason that it gets to that stage. It's just ridiculous. Trull said, sad thing is there are some people who don't have brain power. Exactly, and that's what they are, completely brainless keyboard warriors who sit behind computers and type things out, or sit behind the phones and type things out to, abusing players, whether it be racially or physically, and, they can think they can get away with it because they're hiding. They wouldn't dare say it in front of somebody's face. For me, it's just for attention with all the pals, oh, look what I did kind of thing, and it's pathetic. Joel said, if we sell Joel piece by piece, we will get more for him. So are you suggesting chopping Joe Linton up, Jules? I'm a bit surprised at that, mate. But you're probably right. We'd probably get more for his big toe. Josh says, even Tony is doing well for Brentford. 23 goals, I think, right now. Didn't he play for us? If so, why did we let him go? He did play for us, Josh. You're right. And he never got a chance, Ollie.
It's the same story with a lot of players. They come here and they have potential, like the Longstaffs now, and then they just don't get a chance and move on to another club and do well. And it's a shame because you wish that they'd have done that well at our club, but the club just don't give them a fair chance.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, look at Adam Armstrong as well. He's doing really well for Blackburn. Talking about him moving to the Premier League in the summer as well. I don't think we give these younger guys an opportunity to show what they really can do. Ivan Toney is a fantastic striker. He proved that at Peterborough, that he's moved on to Brentford and he's still banging them in. Tremendous player. Andrew says, yes, a bit of banter, but death threats are just not on. Total morons, whoever they are. Completely agree, Andrew. Absolute morons. Sharky, yes, we all want Bruce out, but support the team in the good and the bad. That's what it's all about. You support a club, you're going to support them through good and bad. It just so happens in Newcastle are going through 14 years of bad at the minute. We had a bit of a lift under Pardew, didn't we, when we finished in a European place, etc., and we were doing really well. But we haven't really had it very nice since Ashley's took over, Holly, unfortunately.
No, not really. I'm not old enough to remember before Ashley, so that's all I have actually ever known. So I suppose it's
God help you.
I know, but I suppose in a way it's not as bad for me because obviously older fans miss how we used to be, but I can't miss that because I never seen it. But for me, honestly, I'm not even joking. One win against some crap side feels massive, whereas you tend to find older fans are disappointed with it because they're we should have beaten by more goals than that and we should be beating more teams, but we get a win against Bournemouth and I'm absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, I mean, it is a shame that you guys, the younger supporters, never really got to see how good we were under the likes of Keegan and Bobby Robson, the fantastic team of the early 90s and challenging for the league and things like that. It's you guys can only sort of look back on videos and YouTubes of that sort of thing and just imagine what it was like, to not have Ashley there, to have people who wanted Newcastle to win, who wanted them to achieve things and spend money on the team. It was very, very different times. Jake says even Tony is playing under an innovative attack-minded manager. That's the difference. Exactly. I mean, it all depends on your manager as well. And Ivan Toney's got a fantastic manager down there, and he was very forward-thinking and positive. Andrew says I can get a chainsaw. Let's not be talking about things like doing that sort of thing, guys. Yeah. Sharky says at the end of the day, it's Mike Ashley and not just Bruce, the owner and Lee Charnley, are halting the club's progress. That's been the case for years, unfortunately, and I don't think it's ever going to change. Sharky says Adam Armstrong off to West Ham in the summer for 15 million. There you go. I'd heard that as well. Ethan says this is for social media companies. ID or passport required. 2 first offence will be a 1-year ban, a fine. 3 second offence, lifetime ban, and a big fine along with a prison sentence. We don't accept it on the street, so why do we on social media? Ethan, I couldn't agree with you more, mate. That is a fact. Something like that should be done. We all have some sort of identification or passports, etc. Everybody should have an official account. These social media companies have servers which are very, very well equipped, big enough to handle all sorts of things, people's information, etc. And that would be a perfect thing to do, because then people know they couldn't get away with it. They can't get online without proving who they are. And it sorts out so many problems. So totally agree with that, Ethan. Sharky says Peterborough United have a good setup. They do. It's probably better than ours. Tom says Tony could be a Premier League player next season. Top of the league so far for Brentford. Exactly. I think they will come up. and I'd love them to come up. Jay says, Paul, what you think is the main issue with Bruce and the Longstaffs? Sean was playing week in, week out a while back. We spoke about this before, Jay, didn't we, Holly? I mean, we said that we're not sure if something's going on behind the scenes at St James's Park with the Longstaffs and Bruce, but something's not right, clearly.
Even last season, I think there was a certain degree of it because, like, they played Bentaleb ahead of them. Like,
yeah, they did.
He was another horrendous midfielder. Bentaleb and now Hendrick. It's just a joke. If I was one of the Longstaff brothers, I'd be insulted personally.
Yeah, we had an interesting question on the show on Monday night. Somebody asked who we would take, Bentaleb or Hendrick. So if you had a choice of either one, who would you pick? It's a very difficult question.
That's the worst question ever. Like,
yeah.
Honestly, I think they're just as bad as each other, so I wouldn't really care. Just none.
I mean, so the guys that were on the show with us said that they would rather have Hendrick because Bentaleb was truly awful. But it's a very tough question. It needs, you need to really think about it. Charles says, don't wish any harm on others because all you do is give yourself bad memories. Exactly, mate. Pardew era wasn't all that bad. Europa League in good times. Exactly. That's what I said, Sharky, that I enjoyed the times under Pardew. Maybe it's not the end of it, but I thought we were decent. Certainly played better football than what we're playing now, which is, such a shame given that we have such good players still on the books, Holly. That's the worst thing about it. We've got good players, and it's all about, putting them good players into a team.
Yeah, like, I think the squad, even that we've got now, should be at least mid-table. They shouldn't have any type of worries about relegation. So that's a massive thing on Bruce because he's not doing well enough with the players that he's got. Because you look at our squad that finished 10th under Rafa Benitez in the promotion, like the first season back, and that team was on paper a million times worse than the squad we've got now, and yet now we're 16th. It just doesn't add up, and that's because of the lack of quality in manager.
Yeah, definitely. 100% right. Josh says us young guys are 25 years too late. Yeah, you are, unfortunately. You missed the good times before Mike Ashley stepped in and destroyed everything. Stephen says, been a great show tonight. Thanks, Stephen. Much appreciated, mate. If you like the show, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already done so. And also follow Holly at HollyBlade05 on Twitter as well. Joel says, good show as always. Thank you very much. Sharky says, can't wait for the day we can go back to the cathedral on the hill. You and me both, mate. It's been so long now, and I think even if Newcastle are still playing rotten, people just want to get back to the stadium, Holly, and get in there and support the team.
I know. I was joking on with my uncle the other day, and I was literally saying I'd give me right arm just to watch a 0-0 with Burnley at home at this point. I just want to get back inside that stadium. I miss it so much.
Do you think if the fans were in the stadium, Steve Bruce would still be manager now?
It's a hard one because I think it would be toxic, really, really toxic. And I think the fans would be trying every which way possible to get him out. But we all know that Mike Ashley doesn't really care what the fans think. And I think Mike Ashley doesn't want to sack Bruce under any circumstance. So
doesn't want to part with the money.
Yeah, so he would probably still be here, but I just think it would be an awful time because the ground would be just toxic.
Definitely. Andrew says Club World Cup. Sharky says Sean Longstaff should have went to Watford on loan last month. Unfortunately, he's down the pecking order. Yep, and that's his loss because I agree. I think he should have gone out on loan, rediscovered his form, and then come back an all-round better player. Ken says, I remember the old second division, I think either late 70s or early 80s. Last game of the season, 8,000 crowd and got beaten off Brighton. They were the bad times. I remember, I think 85 was when I first started going, Ken, as a tiny little lad with my dad in the Gallagher end. But I remember, half the stadium was empty. It was truly awful times. We were going up, we were getting relegated. We had some really bad players, and it wasn't great to watch. But it was that fact that I was a kid and it was going to the football with my dad. It was it was the whole day. It was getting in the car or getting on the train and going to the ground and getting something to eat before the match, then getting into the ground and those days in the Gallagher, it used to be open top, freezing cold, getting absolutely lashed with rain in the winter, but you loved it. It was just your day out, and God hopes that those days come back soon. Sharky says Hendrick over Bentaleb because he was useless. Yeah. Bentaleb was pretty bad. Tom says, evening, everyone. Good evening, Tom. Sharky again says, I missed the away days. Last one was West Ham 3-2 win. Hurry up and let us back in the stadium. Yeah, Sharky did a vlog on that game on his channel. It was really good to watch. It was the West Ham away game. It was good fun. It's a good watch. So again, go and check his channel out for that. I'd rather have Joe Linton up top over. I'd rather have John Linton up top over Joe Linton. Yeah, that's John Sinclair's new nickname now. Is he's basically getting nicknamed John Linton. So because of his love affair for the Brazilian player. Jake says back to the Bruce situation. Sounds like you reckon Bruce mentions threats and praise when it suits him. I don't think it's when it suits him. I just think that sometimes it's Steve Bruce. If he's under the cosh, Holly, he seems to sort of divert everything away from him by talking about something else.
Yeah, but that's a trait that you tend to see in a lot of managers that constantly have a bad record and in and around relegations all the time. They just try to deflect the blame as much as possible because they know that they're inept and they're not up to the job, but they can't accept that, so they'll just blame it on anything else that they can find.
Very true. Dave says, how do you think the players will react when we are eventually allowed back in the grounds? It'll be over a year. It'd be interesting because obviously the players aren't used to playing in front of crowds anymore. It's been, like Dave says there, it's been over a year, Holly, and it'll be a bit of a shock to the system for them, won't it?
Yeah, it certainly will be. And like for some players, I think it'll be good for them. Like I think St. Maximin will do a lot better when there's fans in the ground because I think he thrives off that. But then there's some players that'll get a shock, and it'll be weird for the likes of Wilson and stuff, who's actually never been in St. James as our player with fans there, because he would get a brilliant reception, but he's missed out on that, unfortunately.
He has. It's hard because some of the players that are on social media, they either get hammered or they get praised at the minute. And I think if the fans were in the ground, then the players can truly get a feel of what the fans, really do think about them. Troll says a song for Ashley, Wrecking Ball. Totally agree with that. I just want to vlog again. We know, Sharky, it won't be long, mate. It won't be long. Andrew says, evening, Tom. My channel thrived off going to the games. Exactly. You get to interview people, you get to speak to different fans, and it's an all-round good, fantastic day out. Whether win or lose, it's people's getaway, if you like, just their day. Miss the routine of a match day. Smell of the brewery at St. James's Park. Yeah, that used to be prominent without a shadow of a doubt. John Joe Linton. Oh, poor John Sinclair. He's getting absolutely hammered again, and he's not even on the show. Jake says, look forward to having you lot back at Elland Road in the flesh one day, hopefully soon. Yes, Jake. I don't know. Holly, Jake's a Leeds fan, but he's a big follower of this channel. He's a good bloke. And, I love the Leeds fans. I think they're a great bunch of supporters, very similar to us. And they've been through the mire the last few years as well. So it's good to see them back in the Premier League and competing as well. The away day at Elland Road is fantastic. It's a great day out. Can't wait for that. Thomas says, Paul, I saw Joe Linton at the airport. I think he's flying to Mars. Ooh, that's a long flight. That'll put him out for the rest of the season anyway. If Bruce has mentioned threats, Alec Bruce has mentioned something. At the end of the day, if he's on social media or not, it's not acceptable. Exactly. It isn't acceptable either way, if it's happened or not. Chip is good evening, buddy. Seems strange he's getting death threats when we are doing well. And was getting positive fan mail when we were losing 11 in a row. Again, it's just, who do you believe? It's just such a strange situation. And, the fact that nobody's come out before this press conference and said anything, it's just all just kicked off now from the press conference. It's just a bit bizarre, Holly.
It is bizarre, like I said. I mean, I thought the fan mail thing was completely untrue because I can't see anybody apart from maybe Sunderland fans writing Steve Bruce fan mail at the minute. But I have seen one or two things on Twitter that was not very nice towards Bruce, but it has been the minority, and I don't know if he's been getting more things because I don't really check the club's Twitter that much at the minute.
Yeah.
But like we said, if he is, then that's just totally unacceptable. And I know everyone was saying it's weird how Alex Bruce is just going through like blocking all the Newcastle fans, but if his dad is getting death threats on there, then you can understand, because he won't want to see that, and he won't want his dad to see that, because it's just not very nice about your own dad, is it? Especially.
Yeah, that's very true. Biddy Product says Monday was a right laugh, particularly when I ended up spitting out my drink. Cheers again for that, Archer. If you haven't seen the Four Horsemen of the Toon show from Monday, go back and watch it. A comment comes in, and Peter unfortunately spits his drink out all over his computer and everything. It's quite funny. Sharky says kick racism out as well. It's not acceptable. Totally agree. Can't see Bruce getting fan mail abuse, as not anyone should be getting, no matter who they are. When do you think fans will be back in stadium? No one knows yet. God knows. The lockdown's got to end. They've got to slowly get the economy going again. I think football fans back in the stadium is way down the line yet. So I just think we've got to be patient. Joel said Bruce got a nasty letter from his wife. Oh, dear. Sharky says, Joe Linton to John Sinclair, slowly now, John's ASMR channel. Bless him. Yeah. Letters to Steve Bruce. I mean, it's the whole thing's just incredibly bizarre. John says, Paul, tell the viewers to check me and Holly out on my press conference reaction show tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Like and subscribe. It'll be bliss. Well, there you go, Holly. Obviously, I've just said it, so there you go, John. Holly is starring again on YouTube. You're going to get recognised now, Holly, when you start going out, man, and think, oh, there's that Holly Blades off YouTube, getting on so many channels.
Honestly, I doubt it'll happen, but if it did, that would be really weird. Like I said, when I went on when I started going on channels, I never ever, because I just kind of keep myself. I'm not one to like speak out and stuff, and I don't have many followers out like that. But then I went on one of them channels, and then just more people started inviting us on. It went a bit crazy, really.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good thing, though. It's a good thing. When you're in demand to come on people's channels, it can only be a good thing. Jake says these things aren't acceptable, but neither is using them to get sympathy when it profits you. Yeah, I totally understand that side of it as well. You shouldn't be using it for anything like that, to be honest. But, unfortunately, this is the world we live in at the minute. Josh said this last stream, but we need to bring the academy players, especially now at centre back since the injuries. Otherwise, Andy Carroll at centre back. Holly, we did, me and the lads did speak about this on Monday's show about Steve Bruce's reluctance to put any of the academy players in. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I just think he's very reluctant to give any youngster a chance because I don't know, is he frightened too? Is he just that kind of manager that he doesn't believe in the academy? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. I don't think he's the type of manager that is one for producing new talents. I don't think that's something that is kind of in his plan of action, if you'd say. But then also, I'd be reluctant at the minute to put academy players in, because obviously we are touch and go with the relegation zone and staying up, and you can't really take that risk by putting in young players who've got no experience and then potentially costing us the game when we need the points at the minute. Yeah,
exactly. Tom says still 0-0 between Barnsley and Chelsea. It's bizarre that's they can't even beat Barnsley yet, but it's different when they turn out against Newcastle. That's the problem. Shotty says fans will be back in the stadiums for August. I hope so, mate. Going through the last few now before the end of the show. Thank you very much to everybody that's tuned in tonight. Really do appreciate it. Like I say, if you've enjoyed what you've watched, do hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do hit the subscription button and follow me at the Toon Review on Twitter. And Holly's on Twitter as well at HollyBlades05. Do give her a follow. So last few before we finish the show, Holly. Steve Bruce will be playing at centre back the way the injuries are going. God almighty, no. I'd hate that to happen. Geordie Talk, Stephen says, looking forward to appearing on Geordie Talk tomorrow, Paul. Yeah, thanks very much. Looking forward to that, Stephen. Really am. Should be a good show again. Robert Hogg, who's a Leeds fan, says, I'm no detective, but I'm getting the feeling Bruce is not liked up there. Great watch as usual, bud. Can we please have St. Maximan? Thank you very much for enjoying the show, Robert. I appreciate that. But no way in hell can you have St. Maximin. You know, if you do want to swap Bielsa with Steve Bruce, I'd be open to that sort of trade. But definitely not St. Maximin, unfortunately. Tom says, got to start Gale on Monday. Surely he can start Linton. But knowing Bruce, he will play Joe Linton. That's my fear, Holly. That's my fear.
I think he will. I don't think he'll start Gale. But then it's like, I could understand bringing him on if we were like 1-0 up or something and he wants to like play more defensive. But if we actually need to score goals, Joe Linton's not going to do that. So you've got a better chance of beating him.
Yep, good point. Tom says, Holly will be big in a few years on YouTube. Fans back in August, but with new things, God knows when health is more important. Exactly. Health's more important, Tom, at the minute, and we just need to get it all sorted and get back into the stadiums. Well, there you go. Holly, you're going to be massive on YouTube in a few years' time. Jake says, cheers to both of you. Good show. Paul says, great show, Paul and Holly. Sharky says, thanks, Paul. Big up to Holly for her first appearance on your show. Well done. You get plenty of praise, Holly. That's only a good thing, isn't it? Tom says, keep it up, guys. Jules, stay safe, everyone. Sharky says, excellent show tonight. Cheers, mate. Appreciate that. Looking forward to watching your show tomorrow. Tom says, can we not look at the free agents for a strike until the end of the season? They won't even do that. They're not prepared to spend any money, to be honest, Tom. They're just not. Andrew says, great show tonight, guys. Barnsley are hammering Chelsea at the moment. Josh says, cheers. And Tom says, Daniel Sturridge is available on a free. Yeah, he's too injury prone, like Gale, unfortunately. That's my opinion. Right, Holly, thank you very, very much for joining the show tonight. It's been an absolute blast. I think you've just proved to everyone that your football knowledge is second to none, and especially on Newcastle United. Hopefully soon we'll get to see some proper football where we're challenging again, and you can actually see us, doing something for once. But thank you very much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it, and obviously we'll have you back on here in no time at all because you've been brilliant tonight.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Like I say, if you've enjoyed the show, do hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and follow me at the Toon Review on Twitter. And Holly is at Holly Blades on Twitter as well. Holly Blades 05. Give her a follow on there and get her followers boosted up. But in the meantime, thank you, everybody, for watching, and good night.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.